Want to see what an OSHA ready business actually looks like? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I maintain all of my clients to make sure that they're always OSHA ready. And I'm also going to show you how to build an OSHA ready business without having to have a giant environmental health and safety department. Really, one person and some technology tools can do all of this. So first off, let's start with what most companies look like. Most companies look like this, right? They've got a bunch of paper, they've got a bunch of documentation, they've got a bunch of folders for all of their employees, and a ton of spreadsheets, most likely, trying to keep track of everything. But if you're like me, who has done that in the past, if you have 100, 200, 300 employees, how likely is it for you to actually be 100% compliant for employee training? How are you actually tracking that? Are you actually taking the time to take a look at that spreadsheet on a weekly, monthly basis? I know personally, it always fell off my radar because something would happen. All of a sudden, it was 3 or 4 months went by, and I'm way, way, way behind on training, or I'll have a training class, and then all of a sudden, someone's out sick, someone's on vacation, so I have to track those people down individually. It's honestly like costing me a ton of time. So what I've done now is I've digitized all of the EH&S program, all of the training and everything, and it saves me hours and hours and hours. And as a consultant now who gets, charges the clients based on time, I can save my clients a ton of money by just simply digitizing everything and making sure we're always audit ready because I've got a system that is tracking that. I don't have to manually track that anymore. So I'm going to show you here what an OSHA ready client looks like, and we can kind of dig into that. So, okay. So a system that I use is called Proact EH&S. And in here, I've got a dashboard, and this is my personal dashboard. And you can see the open tasks that I specifically have to do. So I have 2 demonstrations for 2 new employees that I need to do for lockout tagout. So I think that's really valuable because employees are always coming in and being hired, and not all of them need lockout tagout training, but some of them do. And as a safety representative, I make sure to have that conversation and do that demonstration with them to make sure that they know exactly how they're going to be performing lockout tagout on pieces of equipment. So this is a way for me to make sure that we are always audit ready because I'm getting notified exactly when employees are getting through the training so I can get on it and get them through the next steps of the training. The biggest thing for me is the learning management system. So training obviously is probably the headache for so many EH&S professionals, especially when it comes to being OSHA ready. So here we can see all of the completed courses that I personally have done. And you can see I've got one that's open and that's actually past due as well. So this is what it would look like for an employee if they had an open training course. So, and then I also have notifications put on so they're reminded on a daily basis if something is overdue or it's getting close to that due date. So it's kind of annoying the crap out of employees, honestly, to make sure that they're actually going through and doing the training. In here, I can manage all of the training as well. And the nice part about using technology these days, you can create really engaging content simply with your iPhone. So a really great example of that is we updated our confined space entry program in 2024. And what we did here is we went out into the field. I went out into the field with the president of the company. And what we did is we just created a training videos specifically for the highest risk activity that the specific employees needed to do. So the reason why this is important is because there's like multiple different ways to do this, and we could rely on some of like the factory installed information. So for example, like there's a factory prop here, and this is the secondary prop that we say we want them to use. And so relying on this alone, right, it gets salty, it gets nasty, it gets rusted, and it's not reliable anymore. So we have that secondary prop to make sure we're protecting employees. So it's a really easy way for me to make small adjustments and even go into a little bit more detail on site-specific materials by simply using the iPhone and then uploading it into the system. And then from there, making sure that all of the employees are trained on that. So really great way to engage your employees in a different way. Within here as well, I can come into the assigned and I can see who has completed and who hasn't. So Dwight here, he's new. So I need to get a hold of Dwight and make sure that he's getting that completed. So again, a really great way for me to be able to track that on a routine basis. But let's say, for example, that OSHA shows up. I'm certainly not going to show them this entire screen because they're going to see Dwight and be like, what the heck, why isn't Dwight done? That's a finding. So what you do is you're not sharing your entire screen, but let's say, hey, I want to see Corey White's, I want to see proof that he did the 2024, or confined space training. We can come in here. I can view the assignment first off for any specific employee that's needed. And then from there, I can bring up their specific course certification. So I can bring up their course certification. I can then share my screen or just simply print off that course certification for OSHA to keep that scope really, really small. And based on that, then on a monthly basis, what I can do is I can run analytic reports as well to know who do I need to contact, who do I need to follow up with to make sure that our training is getting done in an efficient manner. So this is a really great way for me to keep my clients held accountable to make sure that things are getting completed. So then I know, okay, hey, we need to get a hold of Dwight here because he is missing some training. So being OSHA ready isn't necessarily always being 100% compliant, but it's having all of your ducks in a row so that the open items that maybe aren't making you compliant are so small that when OSHA comes in, the likelihood of them finding that is really, really small. So that's the reality. I'm being real here. Being 100% OSHA compliant all the time is a really difficult thing because we've got employees that are new, or we've got employees that don't want to participate in certain things, or they're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad year, right? Like it gets really difficult. So if we can get 99% of the way there by making sure employees have access to all of these things, we're really heading in the right direction. Last thing is, the tools that I've shown here show you how you can build a really great environmental health and safety system without needing a giant EH&S department. I showed you that training video for confined space. I used my iPhone and the business owner, right? And we created one of the most engaging videos. It was a minute long. We created one of the most engaging videos that we have in our entire learning management system with an iPhone and just being on site. So it's a really great way. Using technology is a really great way to make sure that we're obviously getting site-specific material, but it's a really great way to engage our employees as well. Your employees can help you create this content, right? They're the ones that know their jobs the best. So you don't need another individual doing that, right? They can go out and get that content for you. And with a tool such as this, and there's other tools out there as well, but a tool like ProAct EH&S that I personally use, you can implement all of that, put that all into a system like this without having to have someone else be an administrator to keep track of that, right? Just think of how much savings you have just by not having to hire an administrator. Think of how much time savings you would have by not having to keep track of all of these spreadsheets and pieces of paper anymore. Just one example is I have a client where we implemented a system like this for them, and they had to do not only OSHA, EPA, but also FDA, so they were food, and they saved over $100,000 because just based on time for employees to perform their training is so much more efficient on onboarding, so much more efficient for HR, EH&S, the training department, that they saved over $100,000 by simply digitizing it. And implementing it within a system like this. So you can really create a great environmental health and safety department with one person. Not even sometimes having an EH&S person. An HR manager could do this, but with one person, you can look like a giant EH&S department, get as much stuff done as a giant EH&S department with only one person and some technology tools. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these tools that I've shown you, maybe some best practices on videos to take. I have some AI video makers as well that I use to create some engaging content. If you have questions on any of those things, definitely get a hold of me. Say something in the comments and we'll get a hold of you, and I can definitely show you any of these in way more detail. But this is how I'm making sure that my clients are OSHA ready at any moment in time without me having to manage all of it. So if you have multiple locations, or maybe you're a consultant, you're trying to keep track of multiple spreadsheets and pieces of paper, definitely take a look at using some technology to automate not all of those, but most of those tasks for you.